grandson that lives at our house, his name is Thomas Allen George, so we just call him Tag.
We got Tag, we got Stella Ann, so we got Tag, Sam, and Cam is Chase Anthony.
Yeah.
The last name's Muffler.
That's fine.
I'm sure we're glad with this election stuff, so.
Okay.
You know, Tom,
Pardon me?
I'm glad with this election stuff's over.
Hey, I would
Did we
too.
turn on
Hey,
sensitivity?
my Christmas this
Oh
year
my
is
gosh, who keeps sitting in this seat?
I hear you, yeah. On November the 6th, I'm not
Huh?
going into work. I'm gonna just relax.
Okay.
You got us mixed up.
I did.
Alrighty. Can everybody hear me? How is this? No feedback?
No feedback.
No feedback.
Everybody leaves their mics off except when they want to talk. That's what happened, is everybody turned them on last month.
Well, there has to be a way to turn down the sensitivity. I mean, you can hear this well, right? I ain't doing like the other night where it doesn't go out on the stupid recording.
Somerville system's set up the same way. You have to keep it off until you're gonna talk.
Well, it wasn't that way till we got something new.
Yeah, there's a new piece of hardware and they turned it up. They turned the output up. I know that.
Well, we don't need that. We need it down.
Adrian, say something.
Something. Yay.
Just bump it and it's going to go delay.
Can you put it on there so I sound like? I want sound effects when I speak.
Only reason I wanted to go down was to get that line out.
Okay, and that's it, right here.
Yep, one on one.
I'll be honest with you, man, I like sitting in the bicycle seat back because I got all that room.
Yeah, you got a full curve there that you can
I
take.
can move my chair all the way to the side and stand up
have
the flag, I got all that extra room over there. That's all right. Give me 6 months, I won't be like the mayor, just come in with an agenda, just look for the last thing on the list. I wanna talk about park fees. I wanna talk about this thing on park fees.
Can't believe it.
Infrastructure, tap fees on Duck Swing. I'm sorry.
Is your microphone on?
They move your sign anymore?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Stay at the offshore arm and watch the Yankees play if they're getting the brains beat out.
Did you put my sign on there? Okay.
Did you hear me, see me tapping?
No, that's
Like,
fine.
stop.
No, you can tell the truth. It's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be so funny when they go. Oh, shit, I really think he's hurting.
Yeah, now she'll have a
We have to go hang up on him. You don't have to, just tell the truth.
well.
Tell the truth.
No, I always do. People don't like it, but oh well.
He got arrested, he's still on time.
That woman that cuts Mr. Frank's hair, she went online and she backed you all the way.
She bagged me.
Yeah,
Where's he get his hair cut? I guess not the place.
Here
where-
it is.
here it is.
Is that Amy?
Yeah.
I need to go see her.
She
Don't
invited
get your hair cut.
she invited me to come over there.
Do you think I'm gonna get my hair cut?
She invited me. She goes, "Come on over." She goes, "We can do a meet and greet right here." She goes, "I keep telling people you and Adrian."
I'm gonna go see.
You ever heard the thing Samson and Delilah?
Yeah.
Well, you're Samson, so don't get your hair cut.
I told her,
I think you're doing better than anybody right now.
"Thanks, sir."
And I'm gonna be honest with you, 2 months ago, I was the opposite. I was like, man, I'm like, I'm ready, family talk. But now, I don't know. You ask questions better, so you go over.
Ken told me, he says, the last couple of weeks, he said, you really come on strong.
Yes, you keep that up. You keep that up.
All
I
you
just
gotta
think
do
with
is
the level of
keep
support,
reading and keep listening.
I just think with the level of support, that has to turn into votes. That's the biggest thing is
Yeah.
Sometimes you're in this little circle, this little bubble, you get all the support, but if it don't translate, you get those people to vote.
That's right.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured I'd go over there and see her one day this week or something after. I know that they're closed on Monday.
Let's go tomorrow. Let's go tomorrow. Well, look at here, you can
Well,
tell it's election time.
Yeah, you can tell it
He
is.
knows the number of meetings out
It's election time. Look at all these politicians coming in here. I got your signs put over there.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I don't,
Dan,
why we have so many.
Yeah, I carry 2 of yours and 2 of mine over there.
still in the hospital.
I don't see where it is, Oakland going out there and doing all this voting.
I think the big thing would be
I think
whenever they have.
There and here, yeah.
Let me go. My goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Hey, I don't know if we, that sign would need to be up,
I'm
staying
telling
out
you.
there.
And you know, it kind of died down.
Yeah.
It died down after, before you get up, it slowed down. It always died after you died.
So I can't wear regular clothes and.
He had that,
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we only have what, 4 more days,
Oh, I
13
can't
more
wait.
days?
I'm on the downside, I start my therapy tomorrow, so that's supposed to.
Oh, I was gonna tell you something, I told you this,
Over a course of about.
you know, I had a
her down on
story with, everybody was out walking, we saw this little fella sitting on the side of the road with puppies. Sign said puppies, in a box. Looked there, he's, cute puppies there, son, what kind are they? He said, they're Democrat puppies. He said, oh, that's so nice. He said, good luck getting in your puppies. He went on. 2 weeks later, he had to come on. They were walking down that street and he saw the little fella still there with the box. And he said, hey, you wanna see something cute? Go ask him about his puppies. So she walked over there and she said, little fella, those are some cute puppies. What kind of puppies are they? He looked at her, he said, Republican puppies. Oh, Biden heard him now. He called and said, wait a minute. Just a couple of weeks ago, you said they were Democrat puppies. He said, yeah, but now their eyes are red.
That was not a call, that was too many swings of the golf.
Good one.
Send my wishes for wellness.
Oh, yeah.
Have a seat, lady.
Everybody that's known me knows that I play golf in my life. You know, it was time to call it quits.
Oh, did it? Yes, I was calling. They would take some.
Yes, Steve.
Huh?
Remember I got home? 1982. Patrick did go to war now.
From the chief?
Yeah, 'cause they had to go up there and see him.
You don't wanna do that on
And he let me take off that day that he was born.
I used to play a lot of golf, but I played only golf.
In fact, I was on duty.
Green, yeah. Well, you'd be a good scramble. You'd be a good
Yes,
scramble.
yes, I was outside,
Bartlett Ceiling.
Cookies let you
I've been
build
waking up
your
about
team.
3 o'clock,
Yeah.
3:30.
Who was, had a handicap.
Never tried that.
He was a really good player. He didn't care anything else sometimes. And he said, nothing buddy of his long, so it'd be me, the 2 top players, right? And I'm just along for the ride and keep putting or whatever, you know, my little
Right.
golf outfit. And then one of my current husbands or whatever. So we'd be playing and we're having a good time and we'd win all the prizes, you know?
That's what it's all about. Scrambles were a lot of fun. Al, are you a Dodgers fan since you're from Southern California?
That sounds like they called me and Neil back.
Okay.
There's you right there.
And
I
Yeah.
really don't pay
That's
attention
you.
to it.
Oh, my
They said, it
gosh,
sounds
my
like the
grandson
call we
is-
made on 64.
because of the,
It was,
they got the
it
best
was,
player in baseball.
Oh, okay.
And so my grandson and I got to
Morphine
watch the
house.
game last night. It was
The
so much
barn
fun.
was on
Dodgers.
fire. We were getting ready to go in. The guy that
I
owned it
remember when
said,
they moved to
let it
LA.
go, let it go. Don't
Oh,
worry
yeah, that
about
was a big deal.
it. He says,
Yeah.
it's just an
Yeah.
old barn. There ain't
I've
nothing
said a
in it.
lot
I
of
said, we
folks
can't let it go. We gotta go in. So we went in, put the fire out, find out he was
My,
cooking.
my limitation doesn't involve
And they
skill.
sent me and Neil to the hospital. We had to be stripped down.
That right there is you, 'cause I know that.
And good year.
I
you all day.
I had to leave at noon, I left about
That's-
12:40,
that's
something,
the
12:30.
yeah, that's where his heart.
It was, I don't know.
Yeah, well.
Did it start dying down about afternoon there, Harry?
Yeah.
Did traffic start dying down?
Well, I hadn't seen you in a while.
Gotta give you a left-hand handshake. Well, I had,
But they gotta figure out why he's taking all this.
I hope to be all right, I'm not right now.
Your last meeting, you gonna come all decked out?
I told him I'd come in at the time, going out the time. Did you know it? The way I come in, that's the way I'm going out.
Your last
Yeah.
meeting,
I
Yeah.
do that pretty much every day or.
I didn't, I had no deal with preaching this one.
But you know, even with that, they built up.
I noticed their signs up there, they look good down there. Like got sold.
Man, there was a bunch of folks over there.
Yeah, that's why, because he's, the pepper chest pickles, he used it, it was great. So his doctor went to go and see what's going on. Because he heard a murmur, and then when he didn't know, so he helped me know. Thing like I got here, that red. That's the trouble deal. CRT, I say, it's 2 in 1. I'm fixing to have to go in and try
sort of rotator.
Oh, no. She's arm in the sling.
That's what it was, she swung at me, went,
Oh, is that what, oh, okay.
I didn't get to meet her that night. I'm Liz Tate. Oh, you were the one doing the.
I'm the one with the 3-year-old grandson.
A 30-year-old.
I met you out there with Mr. Cates.
You were there at the thing. Were you about to sign up sheets and stuff? Because when we got home, I
Left
told
and right
her,
turn.
yeah.
Be there in a minute.
I met your granddaughter yesterday. He's sitting there playing in the dirt. And if I need to shoot her brought Hudson, I would have brought Tag. Tag has a respiratory problem right now. And it's contagious, so I didn't want to get him.
How old is he?
He's 3, and then we got two-year-old twins. My son and his wife live with us.
keep telling me,
Oh,
They have a house.
I retired from the fire department.
Stay straight. I can't. When they're not coming over, they're there every day. You know, they might start.
I put in 32 and a half years.
He's 3, these two are the 2-year-old twins.
We put that, so now we're doing
I've got it.
that's kind of where I can go. She's too, her name's Stella, but
Stella. That's her twin brother Chase.
Has he got all we're looking at?
Yes, ma'am. He's got autism too. Yeah.
He's adorable.
They just got their haircut the other day.
Dan and I agree
Well,
on one thing.
Hudson had his head.
That's the 3-year-old that usually rides with me. He knows Mr. Cates as soon as he sees you. He goes, Grandma, there goes Mr. Frank right there.
You don't believe my phone, tally sheets for the last 11 minutes.
Oh, yeah, he
Totaled up 697 votes.
Where in the world?
But there were 9
Not
of
a
them.
white bird, not a white.
I was 60
You have a
votes
white
behind.
bird? I've never had a white bird.
That's how super it is.
I got
Kind of curious. This time around, 4 of us.
That's my daughter.
She don't hang those.
She lives in Oakland, Mississippi. She has 4 kids here. I've got, between me and Butch, we got 11 kids here. Between me and Butch, we have 11 grandkids. I have 8, he has 3. She's my baby, she's 34. Get my drink.
All red, aren't they?
Oh my gosh.
You've been down at the thing both days.
I've been at our birthday.
Are they close?
Those 2 are twins.
He's got the red hair.
Yes,
You know, Hudson's a little
I saw Wiggins did mine.
and he has some long hair, blue eyes, and his brother has, well, it's a dark blue. His brother's got brown, and he's got dark blue.
Her eyes are blue,
Oscar, that's it.
his eyes are brown.
You ought to see Hudson in the sunlight. His eyes are so.
Maybe.
So during Hudson's.
Well, you hear it all because of the space in this way.
Hudson's playground.
Probably too loud.
Because I have to monitor him.
The microphone's probably turned on. It's getting all this and amplifying it right now.
And if I need Hudson to spend down there, I would have brought him.
temple strength on this rope, and is it gonna work?
Yeah.
She said a wedding, but
We were talking about that when I was
she
born, I
loves
was
Hudson.
in the military.
Hudson,
We
that's
were,
Nana.
We were, they put us on top of this tower.
Hudson loves
I mean, I wasn't there when they got on the house
You can
today.
go off voluntarily. I said, okay, I think I'll just go off voluntarily. Do a little shave and go down.
Yeah, they haven't learned it.
I got over the edge. He said, "You okay there, Ranger?" I said, "I'm good, sir." He said, "Okay, let her rest." And I went, "Oh, believe me." He said, "Oh," I said, "Oh, yeah, but this." He says, "You're a little player." I said, "Yeah." I let the rope go. He caught it about, with the gloves on. And, the dog guy on the rope, he was eating, trying to keep him sliding all over the rope. That extra 15 seconds is gonna be whether I go to sleep or not, okay?
Yeah, we had a bonus tower at our station. We had to use it.
Now, those things are good enough for me. People won't realize just,
I rode an 85 foot.
really.
In order to be able to ride it, I was a lieutenant.
Okay.
In order to ride it, I had to be able to climb the 85 foot, lock in, at a 45-degree angle, and then when you lock in, they rotate the ladder.
Oh, man, that's a,
Oh, man, you could see downtown Memphis from Boston.
you're telling me, boys, he's looking at me.
Yeah. Oh, look, there's the tower.
Now, look at the, we were here about 2 years ago, 4 years ago. He was a all black boy. He played baseball for the Ordinance and then walked up for a while. Fire department, he got stationed in Ordinance, or actually, Ordinance station. And on 9/11, he was one of the first first responders there, at the Pentagon when he got hit. And, I said, "So what was it like that day?" He said, the day that we got, that morning when we got the call, we already knew the Twin Towers, both the Twin Towers, we were kind of thinking, okay, this is gonna get real serious real quick. And as soon as they got the call up on the SWAT box, gave the address, 337, 300 Pentagon. He says, "All right, I'm in the back. You guys just get through the traffic. I'm in the back." This young guy who just got there, he says, "You just get up there and don't work on me. I'm getting some of this traffic." So he lived there. I never wanted to get someplace so fast in my life.
I was on my way to work. I was at we stopped somewhere and then breakfast before I went into the station. And my wife called, my first one, she passed away. She said, "Okay." My wife called and she goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Getting ready to go to the restaurant and take a walk." She says, "Hey, the tower, one of the towers been on." So we turned on the TV and I saw the restaurant. All of a sudden, the second one was there. I better get to work. That's like when they had the big Memphis strike, fire and police strike.
Yeah.
They put a call out for all paid personnel to break it up. Memphis was called out and said, "We need a call close to you." You help. Chief said, "Yeah." Trade put us all out. So we had Memphis firemen there on our driveway. And he goes, "Burn your own house down." Went out there and he on his hood. Boom. He said, "I tell you, you come down here and mess with us." Boom. He said, "I'll find your house, mama's house, and grandma's house." He took off burning rubber back on him. "You're crazy." See, I moved down here in '72 from Ohio.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was in Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay.
So I moved down here in '72. A friend of mine was living in Navy down
Yeah, I guess he'll set himself. Cold and then the sun, you know, the windburn and sunburn. Better rain. Better rain.
Move all the equipment outside. You're gonna leave the equipment outside, but we can sleep in it. Something's wrong with this picture.
The end of the world.
Yeah, something like that.
Really not? Hey, when you tell them, well, that's what you get, whenever you deal with that.
That's why I tell them they can last two forever.
There you go, you should have told her,
How you doing, Miss Carol? It is, Miss Carol. It is.
It's working.
What we do?
Is yours? There you go. Yeah, no, it's off now. No more time, no. You've been doing that for how long?
Doesn't work, Marty.
Oh, baby. Okay.
Everybody ready? All right, we will call the meeting to order. Let the record show that we do have a quorum with all of the aldermen here. Mayor Mike Brown is absent. First up on our agenda tonight is a prayer and a pledge. I have a special guest tonight that I'd like to introduce. Mr. James Farmer, if you would come up. Mr. Farmer is the senior pastor at the Lord's Church. He's an Oakland resident. I've asked him to come and do our prayer this evening, so if you'd all please stand.
Let us pray. Dear precious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this privilege of serving this great town of Oakland. We pray for our mayor, our aldermen, our city officials, and our precious citizens who make our community so great. I pray, Father, that as we discuss our agenda and craft policies and plans for our city, we will always put the people's interest above our own. Remind us, Father, that we are in this position not to be served, but to serve the public. Just as Christ, who is King, came not to be served, but to serve and ultimately die on a cross for us. We pray that we have a productive meeting this evening. We pray that we will be able to discuss and tackle important things and be efficient in handling those things. We also pray that you give us the grace to come up with the best possible solutions that would benefit the people that we serve. I also pray, Father, that we will uphold what is moral and rational, and we commit our town of Oakland to you. As the psalmist David wrote in Psalm 127 and verse 1, unless the Lord builds the house, those who labor to raise it will have worked for nothing. This is your town, Lord. We bless our time tonight. Please give us your wisdom and guidance in all that we do. In the majestic name of Christ Jesus, our precious Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You'd all please join me in the pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, first up is the approval of the agenda. If there's any additions or deletions, I know that I have a question. Let's see, Mr. Minor. Item number 16, we have an ordinance under new business that deals with amending the compensation for the mayor and the board. It seems that we have a unanimous consensus. If we strike this from the agenda and take no action, does that mean that the formal ordinance stays in place?
It does.
I would like to ask to remove ordinance 2413 then.
I got an objection to it. You said a unanimous concession.
Is anybody for raising pay?
It's not raising pay, it's discussing this.
I make a motion, we remove it from the agenda.
I'll
I wanna
second.
know- I want to know who put it on there.
I did.
That's
You
automatic.
put it on there?
Yes, at the request of,
Mr. Ellis.
yes.
Okay.
Thank you, that does do that, and I agree with Vice Mayor. I certainly do, I think that's an excellent decision to do. And one of the reasons that I think it is a good decision to do that is because this is a difficult times for all of the citizens that live here, and I live here, with the economy being like it is. And I know I recently went to Kroger, I tracked grocery
I'm sorry,
prices.
Ms. Allen, point of order.
I track-
We have a motion and a second on the table.
Yes, this is a point of order.
This is not a discussion.
All right.
Discussion.
I'll bring this up at my comments then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor of removing this, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's off the agenda. Mr. Ellis, did you have anything further?
No.
I'll take a motion to approve as amended whenever you're ready.
On what? What do you say?
The agenda.
Hold up, there was one more addition. I'd asked Mr. Ellis to put the expense report. I wasn't at the last meeting, y'all got an expense report handed out, I requested a copy of it. I'd like to discuss that.
Okay, that would go under old business.
Or do you want to do it under new business ordinance 2411?
Yeah, we could put it there.
Okay. And that would be the discussion of, will that be part of the discussion?
Well, the ordinance, I think, is believed to accept what we agreed on in the workshop. We worked on that in the workshop. But I want to discuss the document that was handed out to the alderman.
The ordinance deals with travel reimbursement, and the conversation, I believe, Alderman Sutton wants to do, it's tied into that topic. It's more about expenses and past expenses, and maybe setting some policy for future expenses, probably for travel.
Can we talk about that before we get to the ordinance?
Certainly.
Okay.
You want to go into old business?
That's what it is old business.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, next up is the approval of the minutes. Hope you've all had time to review them. I'll take a motion when you're
I
ready.
have a comment before we do a motion, please.
Yes, Alderman Hummel.
Thank you. I know we have some of the same people that were here at the meeting the last time we were here. And what's important to know about the minutes that a lot of you don't have a copy of that we're approving here, that there's an important issue that's tacked on at the very end that is a statement made by our town attorney, Mr. Tom Minor, regarding one of the votes that we had that night, which is critical, I think, to review, because after the meeting was adjourned, one of the last votes after we came out of the executive session, there was a vote that was taken. And Mr. Fisher said that the vote was not, should not have passed because we only had, it was 3 against 2, and I voted against that executive session decision, not because, which as in the statement from Tom Minor stated, that it was a housekeeping situation with who should receive papers from a process server. And our charter clearly states the mayor, that's one of his responsibilities to do. And I did not want to break the charter because the decision was, do we allow our town attorney to receive the process papers? And that's not stated in our charter. And I said in the executive session, if we want that in our charter, we should put it in there. We should say the mayor or his designee or the town attorney for federal cases, because it's a federal case, can accept service. And we've never really done that before, so I like the Constitution. If the power's not in the Constitution, you can't assume that power. And that's our charter. And my vote was no. I did not want to deviate from what our charter said. But unfortunately, because we did have missing an alderman, I think Mr. Sutton was called away for some family business, we didn't have enough people here for the quorum for that vote. So that's why that vote was invalid and why I challenged it. And Mr. Tom Minor, as he said later on, he had to fall upon his sword, using his words, that after he researched it, that was an invalid vote because we did not have the quorum for that vote. And that was all it amounted to, but in the minutes, because you don't see the minutes, that addendum, that statement from Tom Minor has been tacked onto that, and the reason that vote was invalid. So I just want to let people know that if you'd like a copy of the minutes to see that, I brought 10 copies, and you're more than welcome to take one after the meeting.
The minutes are a public record.
That's right. And I've got some copies for you.
I disagree with the statement. I think it's implied in the charter that we can waive that for the mayor. I don't think that that's a
No,
breach
it's
of
not
contract.
implied in that, sir.
Mr. Fisher has no right to question anything after he abstains himself from that item. So
And that's why.
all we
she
want,
made
all
her
I'm looking
point.
for is a motion to approve the minutes as they are written.
I'm not gonna vote. I abstained from this. I wasn't here. I don't know what was said.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of amended.
Is there a second?
I wasn't here for that executive session, so I can't say anything on that.
This is for the minutes of the meeting.
That's what I said, and that was part of this meeting, so I can't.
Okay, I will second the motion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I oppose.
That's 2 votes for, I guess 2 abstentions. Motion fails. Moving on.
But we do have copies here if y'all would like one to see what the statement.
Never seen
the
somebody
attorney said.
oppose what happened in the meeting in writing. All right. Oh, we do have a special guest and an honor tonight. I'm gonna come around. I would like to call up Miss Carolyn Ray. You're gonna have to let somebody else take notes for a minute. This is presented to Miss Carolyn Ray in honor of your outstanding contribution to the town of Oakland and 22 years of dedicated services to our community. I'm gonna come around and hand it to you. How are you gonna take your own picture? Here you go, Miss Carolyn.
Thank you, Miss Carolyn, for
Oh,
all you do.
yes.
It would have been easier to turn the microphone. I do have one more plaque to present tonight. In recognition of Ken Sutton, Alderman for the town of Oakland for the past 8 years. Mr. Sutton is not seeking to get reelected. This will be his last meeting, and we have a plaque in his honor.
I can do this one.
Thank y'all.
All righty. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. This is open for any Oakland citizens who want to be heard on items and concerns. Citizens are to be recognized by the chair. They must come to the front of the room before speaking. Each speaker shall state their name and address for the record. The mayor and board of aldermen shall make no decision or consideration of action of citizens' comments except to refer to the town manager for administrative consideration or to schedule the matter for a mayor and board of aldermen to consider at a later date. Speakers shall limit their comments to no more than 3 minutes, and they shall limit their comments to one subject. Is there anyone who would like to speak this evening? Come on up.
I've got no, so I have to write bullet points.
All righty.
My name's Oscar Etheridge. I live at 515 Black Ankle Drive. I've been here since 2011. First off, I wish to thank the outgoing mayor and alderman for their service to the town of Oakland. Second off, I have some concerns. Social media posts and the apparent agendas from aldermen. Alderman Fisher, there seems to be an agenda to have your life partner involved in city government. My opinion is that two people from the same household should not serve in such capacity. Alderman behavior. Alderman Fisher, I supported you in the last election. Your behavior in your role has been appalling, from cussing at meetings to arrest to apparent hidden agenda. Alderman Fisher and Alderman Hummel seem to have an agenda to discredit another mayoral candidate. I've read these on the post. I find these offensive and immature. Alderman Haldeman is accredited with a social media post that I think is slanderous and seems to be hearsay. In closing, I want to remind present and future members of this board that this is a team. There's no I in the spelling of team. Each of you represent the town of Oakland, and each citizen you should conduct your mature and professional behavior, and not like the angry children that I've been seeing on social media. I resent it. I don't like it. I feel like you're representing me, and when you're out there acting like that, no. If you want to do something on your own time, I don't care. But if you're on my board representing me, I do care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Etheridge. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Yes, sir.
How's everybody doing today? My name is John Finn. I am at 100 Acatus Circle. I would like to start off by thanking every one of you guys here today that have taken the time, to serve your term as good as you can and as well as you have done. It's not easy what you guys do, and I do appreciate you guys, especially listening to my rants on occasion and stuff like that. So I do understand it's not easy to hear sometimes. Secondly, I would just like to talk about taxes. When we were here at the meeting, when you guys had the special meeting for the taxes, I came up here and discussed how much it went up, and it was, from salaries, it went up 22%. That was a pretty significant increase, from previous years to this year's, Now we're talking about increasing, taxes to pay for either mayor and board members, salaries. And I'm not against any of that type of stuff, but I find that we need to find other ways than us as citizens to pay for these things, because that seems to be the only way that this town has been paying for their bills is on the backs of us citizens. I would like to see, some kind of businesses brought in here, jobs creation, something like that, so that we can find some ways to offset those costs, that we do bear the brunt of. And that's about it. Thank you all for your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other citizens who wish to make a comment tonight? All right, seeing no one coming forward, we will move on to the next item, comments from the mayor. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to the comments of the alderman. I would just like to piggyback on Mr. Etheridge. Elections don't have to be as divisive as they are. We can be cordial. I too express those same sentiments. It's hard on the department heads and the employees of the town. It's hard on the citizenry and the residents who live here. We don't like to be the laughing stock
of the county. And I for one, wish it would stop. I have always tried to take the high road and only defend myself against vicious attacks. I appreciate that, Mr. Etheridge. That's all the comments that I have. Well, we'll go in alphabetical order. Mr. Cates, do you have anything tonight?
Not really. I know I can't answer what he just said. But I've seen on social media, and I've heard other citizens talking about this board padding our pockets. We voted for big raises. Well, I'd like to clear that record up. We came on this board in 2016, and we still today the same thing that we were 8 years ago. It has not changed one dime that I know of. If it did, I got left out. If 300 a month is for each one of us is breaking this town, then I'm sorry. I mean, that's just my comment.
If I could say something to what he just said, but, you know, actually, if we went back to the previous pay, we'd be giving ourselves a raise. The previous pay was $200 a meeting. So we at least have a workshop and a meeting every month. We probably average 3 meetings a month. Yeah. If we did an average budget year and all, we probably average 3 meetings a month. That'd be $600 a month, and we get paid 3. I too have not had a raise since I've been on this board and hadn't asked for one.
I don't want one.
All right, Mr. Fisher?
I don't know who asked for this to be put on the agenda.
Ask for what?
And Mr. Harvey, you know what I'm talking about. Who put this item on the agenda? You said an alderman. Alderman Wiggins. And this year, our cost of living for seniors is 2.5%. Okay, I have a friend who makes $1,000 Social Security. That 2.5% is going to give her $25. Alderman Wiggins wanted to go to $1,200. That is a 20% pay increase.
For alderman? No. I asked for this to be on the agenda. I did not ask for this to be on the agenda.
You just said it.
I told the town manager.
It's my, I'm speaking.
Well,
You gave me the floor.
you're speaking incorrectly. I'm not going to sit
No, I'm
here and
not.
let you do that.
You just
The
said
item was put on the
you put it
agenda
on there.
because the board sets the pay for the next board.
No kidding.
And I asked the town manager to poll the board to see if anybody wanted to change the pay. And he
Nobody
called-
polled me.
he
Nobody polled me.
He called me back and said, no one wants to change the pay, but it was on the agenda anyway, which is why we just had a motion to remove it, and the only person who didn't want it removed was Alderman Hummel.
No,
is not
I didn't
true.
want it removed.
So you're blaming me for increasing
So,
pay,
I-
but you
still-
two
I
want
still
the
have the
pay.
Gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Point of order,
Because now you're
please.
you're lying
Point
to
of
the people.
order.
No, I'm not.
Come on, let's take control.
Well, I tried. He interrupted me. I didn't interrupt him.
I'm the chair.
Let's act like
You
adults
don't
and settle
interrupt.
this peacefully.
So,
Somebody gotta have control. That's the
somebody,
mayor's job.
somebody
Okay.
put it on the thing. I wanted to discuss it, okay? 2.5% is only $25 that this lady will get, okay? Alderman Vice Mayor, let's just go there. Vice Mayor wants to be mayor, wants another $200 added to that salary. We don't know what the aldermen are gonna get, because it's a blank on there. I guess we were supposed to discuss it. I don't know what his intentions were, but I want to make a motion on that, and nobody wants to hear it.
This is not a time for
I'm
motion.
still
This
have
is
the floor.
comments
I
from-
still have the floor.
You're out of order.
No, I'm not.
This is
No,
comments
my
from
comments.
aldermen.
Yep, that's him, all right.
This is my comments. I wanted to make a motion that we cut our pay by 33% or 20%, as he wants to raise it 20%. I'll cut it 20%.
I have never stated that
Okay.
I wanted to raise anyone's pay.
You put this on the agenda, and it's on the agenda, so.
Show me where the pay increase is.
You can't tell me that.
Show me where the pay increase is.
If you were gonna cut the pay, would that still have to be an ordinance?
Yes.
Of course.
You should have made that motion
But
in
you know-
September. That would have took 2 meetings.
I
Jim.
did, I didn't want this.
You said you wanted to make a motion.
I
to
didn't
cut
know
the pay.
anybody
You
was
could've done
gonna
that in
do this.
September.
Can
could've done it
you
in
guys with
September.
the phone zoom in on this? There is absolutely no increase in any pay for an alderman or a mayor on this ordinance. All I asked was the town manager to do his duty. He's a new town manager. He was not here after the last election. Our charter clearly states, this board sets the pay for the next board of whoever gets elected on November the 5th.
That's true.
That is the duty. I knew this
I don't
information,
argue
our
that.
town manager did not. I asked him to research this document, and I asked him to poll the board to see if anyone wanted to change the pay. Out of 5 people, no one wanted to change the pay.
I was not
That-
polled.
you
I think I
said that
made that
twice.
clear.
I can't help that, I'm not the town manager.
That's
Well,
true.
don't sit there, somebody's lying.
That's why it was put on with no notice for discussion.
There you go.
That's why
Okay.
it was put on with no notice for discussion.
Numbers on discussion.
Well, because it wasn't taken off and it wasn't polled by her or me, something's going on. We're putting things on the agenda without permission to put things on the agenda, and then come and say, oh, I'm innocent. Not you, not you.
Have we gotten to the H's yet?
Yes.
I wanted a cut in pay, okay? And he's right, I could have put it in there. But guess what? You still need 2 readings of this ordinance, and that's not gonna be until after the election, so it doesn't affect anybody on this board. It only affects anybody new who might be coming in. And that's it.
All right.
Her pay won't change, his pay won't change. If he becomes mayor, it will change. If I get reelected, it will change.
It's
But
not
those
e-
2 won't.
It's not even on the
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
That's
Are
not
we
the
at the
point.
H's yet?
It is
Put
the
it on
point.
the agenda, which means we know what you were trying to do, and that's wrong.
No,
Yes, it is.
it's
In
perfect.
this day and age that
It is
people are
perfectly
fighting
proper for the
and
town
paying
manager
bills
to,
And only getting 2%, you want 20% raise.
no, where do you get that information?
Don't sit there.
No,
I'm
where do
not
you get that
stupid.
information? You're accusing
Put
me
it
of trying to
from the-
raise the
from the
mayor's pay by
floor.
20%.
I got
A
something to say.
point of order, please, Jeff.
I got something to say.
No.
All right, we're at the
I'm
H.
sorry,
Are you
1
finished,
minute. I'm not gonna let him
Mr.
sit here and make a
Okay.
lie about me in
Look,
public.
let's take a 2-minute recess till all this settles down. 'cause I'm sick
I
of
think we're
listening
fine.
to it.
Alderman
I'm
Fisher's
good.
done. We're gonna move
I'm
on to Ms.
waiting
Hummel.
patiently for my
No one
turn.
advocated, not a single alderman advocated for any pay to increase. And the town manager is the one who makes the agenda. He does not have to have permission to put any item on the agenda.
Okay,
Alderman Hummel,
thank you.
my goodness.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, to clarify things, I only learned about this by getting my packet. So there you go, when I got my packet, and I was not only clear, I was not polled for anything about it. I got the packet and then asked a question. So if it was gonna be on the agenda tonight, which I thank God it's not, I was definitely going to vote no for ordinance 2413. Like I said, it seeks to pay raises for new aldermen and a new mayor, and whoever comes in those positions, they would have gotten a raise. This request is not only unreasonable, but it's downright insensitive to our citizens. It's unacceptable to consider increasing our salaries when our community is facing dire economic challenges. As I said, last Friday, I compared prices at Kroger from February of 2022 for my shopping list, and the results were shocking. Kroger butter has risen from $3.29 for 4 sticks to $4.49. Eggs jumped from $1.49 to $3.69 per dozen, and 4 pounds of sugar soared from $1.99 to $4.19. Canned vegetables from Kroger used to cost 69 cents a can. They are now 89 cents a can. And furthermore, the Oakland Monthly Water Report that I received in this packet reveals that there has been 8,185 late notices issued for water bills this year alone, along with 355 water cutoffs. And there's a reason for that. Our citizens are hurting with the high garbage rates and everything we have in this town. And I did not run for alderman for $300 monthly pay. I can assure you that. I don't mind taking a cut whatsoever. And I stand against this ordinance and will be, had I been voting for it, it would have been a no without hesitation. Thank you.
on one hand, you said you would want the pay to go down, and then you would vote no for it.
I did not want it,
Mi-
I
Miss-
did
Mr.
not want
Ellis?
it on the agenda. I made my comments, and you do not tell the
There,
authority.
man, we can't do that, that's not proper.
It's not. I
Mr.
made my
Ellis?
statement, that's it.
Mr. Ellis, what was the percent of pay increase that you included in the ordinance? Thank you. Mr. Sutton?
We may need the preacher to pray again.
I think so. I think so. My gosh.
I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I wanna thank every one of y'all, all the employees of this town, department heads. Please go back and tell your people how much I appreciate them. We need to concentrate on making things better for this town. We all have made mistakes up here. I've made votes that I hated I made. But I've been able to sleep at night because I know in my heart I tried to do what's best for the majority of people of this town. Please know that this is not an easy job. And this is my last meeting. There's tough decisions going to be made in this town. You want to talk about blaming people? Let's go back and blame for years. Because I can tell, I told 2 people that's running today what's wrong with this town. I'll tell every one of y'all here tonight. What's wrong with this town is we bragged about that low tax rate for all them years and being debt free, that we didn't put any money back to fix what's wrong and why everybody's complaining in this town. We sat there on a 20-something cents tax rate with everybody being happy while our town was deteriorating. Do I want to raise taxes? No. And nobody on this board, not one of these people, if they disagree with me on stuff, that don't matter. I know in my heart, none of these people want to raise a single tax on you, and they don't want to raise a single fee on you. They wish they could make everything go down, but you can't. And it ain't over, y'all. Every subdivision we accepted as our property has a value. These developers spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars putting these subdivisions in. And what I mean by that, all the pipes under the ground, from the meter to the road that gets the water to you and gets the wastewater back to our plant. We accepted all that as our property. We accepted the roads and the base underneath. All that stuff is nothing to fix it because our tax rate was so low, we didn't put money in the bank to repair and replace. You may have seen this on some posts. Yes, we got wrote up in our audits for it. But it's a tough decision up here to raise your taxes. And you know why it's tough? Because people want to be reelected. Okay? They want to be reelected. They're scared if they do the right thing that they're not going to be reelected. That's why. Because it'll be a room full. You talk about raising taxes and there'll be standing room only in here. Standing room only. It got done for so many years of nobody doing that. That now everything, the growth started about 25 years ago, y'all. About 25 it started going. In 1995, who knows how many people lived here in 1995?
About 4,000,
2,500 probably.
more than that.
It was less than 500 people here in 1995. Less than 500 people here in 1995. It's over 10,000 now. But we want to brag about that 20-something cents tax rate and how we was a debt-free town. About all this stuff and all these subdivisions got built. We never said, how much is that stuff worth? How long is it going to last? Divide what it's worth by how long it's going to last and depreciate those funds and put money back in the bank. That hadn't been done in this town. We started now, Mr. Ellis is in now, we're doing it now. How's that going to help us? How's it going to help us now when we should have been collecting since 1995 when the growth started? So the problems ain't over, y'all. These people are going to have to make some tough decisions. Tough decisions because somebody's going to have to pay to repair and replace. You know the only fund that's got money in it to repair and replace? Your water wastewater fund. You know why? Because the government will not let you go over 2 years without that thing putting depreciation back. So the state steps in. So if your water fees wasn't raised this year by this, and water didn't go up, y'all. Everybody saying their water bill, that ain't what went up. Your base went down on your water. But your garbage collection and your wastewater fees is what made that bill higher. Water hadn't went up. It's the same, it's basically the same rate, isn't it? But anyway, here's the thing. If this board don't raise your water rates to pay for the service and depreciate your funds, if they do it 2 years in a row, the state steps in and does it for them. So they're going up. Because if this board don't raise them up, the state will come in and raise them up. And so it's just, we've seen all this stuff. Ms. Hummel just read what all went up at Kroger. Well, everything this town buys to service you has went up the same way. So we face those same deals as a town that y'all have as a household. So we're at bad times in our country. We need to get stuff straight on all levels. But I'm going to tell you something. This budget that they work under for the town is pretty lean. And I know Mr. Fisher wanted to cut it 10%. But I can guarantee you this, it's pretty lean. And right now, to keep expenses down, we've got openings that hadn't been filled. We're asking people to do more. But just know these people have a tough job. I don't always agree with them, but I respect every one of them for casting that vote. I do. But I do want to ask them, don't do what it takes to be reelected. Do what it takes to do what's best for the people of this town. And for those that get elected, I ask the same thing. It's not about being reelected. It's about what's doing best for the citizens of this town. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. I would like to interject one comment just so everybody understands. I try to put this out in as many places as I can. Every spring we go through our budget. You are more than welcome to come and listen to the process. And just so everybody understands, our budget for this year is $11 million. We collect $2 million of property tax. The only place that you can live and pay less taxes in Oakland is you got to move out to the county or move down to Piperton. And that includes every county in the United States. So, thank you, Mr. Sutton. Piperton has no sewer.
Piperton has no sewer.
Thank you, Mr. Minor. All righty. We are up to the consideration of department director reports. I hope you guys are a little milder than what we just had. Is there any department head that wishes to speak?
Is it safe to come in here?
Well, for you it is.
This is just to advise you kind of what we're intending on doing with purchasing some new rifles. So we're not going to actually purchase them, but what we have is some confiscated rifles. There's a TCA code that allows for this. They updated it in 2023 for FFL dealers. So what we're going to do is, I'm not sure exactly how many have been adjudicated by the court, but we're going to put them up for bids, but there's no money transaction. It's just swapping of weapons. So I'm just kind of letting you know ahead of time how we're going to try to get rid of some of these confiscated guns. They've already been cleared through the court.
So they're cleared through the court, and y'all gonna trade them to a FFL dealer for police equipment?
Exactly.
Okay.
Update our rifles.
All right.
Good with that.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, no problem.
Any other department head wish to speak? Any alderman have a question for any department head? All right, moving on.
Since the fire chief ain't here, does anybody know how he's doing?
He's doing better, feeling better today.
Mr. Ellis, Town Manager's Report.
A few quick things. A couple of them are going to parlay off of Alderman Sutton's comments about things going up. First, I want to mention the paving project has been completed. I believe it was completed at the end of last until spring. We'll try to attempt another paving project in spring. We opened bids for the water treatment plant. You guys will remember we've discussed it several times. We budgeted for the operating system of the water treatment plant. It's pretty much obsolete. It was opened in 2001. So we opened bids early this week to have that hardware and software upgraded. We had 4 bidders, and the apparent low bidder was $214,345. We're going to do our due diligence and bring that back to this board at a later date, but I just wanted to give you that numbers. We do have funds available to take care of this upgrade, much needed upgrade, so that'll give us a little bit more reliability in our water treatment plant. Second one, we also opened bids today on phase 1B of the park project. I know it's been controversial conversation at times, but I wanted to give you information on that. We had 5 bidders, which was good. The bids were very close. Our original budget was $5 million. We had a $2.5 million grant from TDEC for parks, and it's a 50-50 matching grant. We had the funds to match that. The bids came in approximately around $6.3 million, so a little over budget. We're working with the engineer and staff to get the project within our budget. Once we have the final numbers, I'll be presenting it to the board at that time. So just wanted to give you an update on those things real quick.
I have a question.
Let me, on the park project, there was a little bit of discussion about possibly changing what is in there. But I wanted to ask, I know that those grants that come are very, very specific. I mean, do we have the ability to make any changes? Can it only be minor changes, substantive changes?
The grant administrator was not present today. I have to have a conversation with her next week to ask that question. Again, the $6.3 million is the base bid, so we put alternates in there. So we got pricing on turf fields, for example, or lighting the 2 of the 4 extra. We put several alternatives in there. So anything other than the base bid would be additional costs. Again, the base bid was $6.3 million. So my question to her, we may have to reduce the scope of the project to stay within budget.
Yes.
Example, we may have to go to 3 fields from 4 or whatever. So I feel confident we can reduce the scope. Financially, we're not going to be able to expand the scope.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Ellis.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I know Alderman Cates and I both had a question when we were looking at the monuments for the park that I did. We were asking to get some pricing before we voted on which selection that we liked. Had you come up with those?
Yes, that was included in the alternate, the additional alternates, and I thought I had it with me. I believe on the low bidder, on the apparent low bidder, the versions of the sign, one was $56,000 for 2 signs. One on the highway and one at the park entrance. And the alternate, the second version of the sign was $1,000 different. One was $56,000, one was $57,000.
And that includes 2 monuments,
signs,
then, right?
yes.
Not just
Yes.
one. And they would be identical, I guess?
Yes.
And it's only 1,000 difference.
Correct.
All right, so we just need to, I guess, re-vote on which selection we want
Yes,
to bring
when I
that up.
bring the package to you guys after we're finally there, we'll have to make that decision on which sign, which format you want to go with. But
Okay.
they were $1,000 difference if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mr. Ellis?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next item is old business. I didn't bring my old expenses, but
I just had some
Go ahead.
questions. This is the form, if y'all remember, if y'all got copies of this?
yes.
I've got some questions. I see that, like one of the questions on March, there was a TML conference in Nashville. We had some people attend that conference. I was really wondering how one alderman could have a $629.98 hotel room and another one have a $254.90 hotel room for the same conference. Also, one alderman got paid a per diem of $171.46 for meals, and the other alderman didn't have any per diem. Ms. Hummel Rounds did not have any per diem. She also had a $254.90 hotel room. And Alderman Fisher, hotel room cost $629.98, and he showed $171.46 for meals. At that same hotel conference, to the side, it's a note to where the town furnished a meal for it. So, what I'm wondering, what is per diem? How much per diem do you get for a day?
I believe it's 50, depends on where you go, it varies from city to city. Nashville, it's different.
I think it's $65 a day, I think.
And that would be a travel day would be a half day per diem?
Or maybe it's only $60 a day.
80 cents.
86.
Maybe $86.
$86.
Travel day is $64.50. And then you take your lunch and breakfast and dinner.
$64.50?
$64.50 for travel and 86 for meals and incidentals.
Wait a minute, is that the old rate?
That's the rate we use.
This is a brand new one in our packet.
We've been using the state rate. That's the rate we've been using, and that's what I'm proposing later in the meeting. But and then you reduce that particular city, just for information, breakfast is $22 reduction in that daily per diem, lunch is $23, and dinner are $36 reduction.
Okay, the $86 is only if you're in Franklin, Tennessee.
I'm sorry, Nashville's
Okay.
same price, 86.
Okay.
Ms. Hummel's total expenses for this conference was $419.90, and Mr. Fisher's was $966.44. That's 2.3 times the amount of Ms. Hummel's. How is it possible that one alderman can have an expense account that's 2.3 times higher than another member there at the same conference, in the same town at the same time?
Well, I used my personal credit card when I went out and ate and then didn't turn in an expense report. The hotel was paid by Jay Johnson on the credit card that he had, so I never even got a bill for it. And I do want to note on the second part, that little corner up there top, that little green corner that's up there, Mr. Rounds did accompany on that trip with me, and Jay Johnson had paid for his meal, and Mr. Page Wally. But I believe it can be verified by the canceled check that Mr. Rounds paid for his meal back to the city. So that was not expense to the city. I want that clarified before someone blows it up on the internet, please.
Yeah. So I guess, Mr. Fisher, I'm asking you, why was your expense account so much higher than the other members that attended?
I don't know. That's the one who paid the bill. Because all I do is turn in what they gave me. I went over there, gave them my credit card, they ran what they did, they billed the town. That's up to them. That's between the town and the hotel, okay? But they also didn't give me a, what do they call that? A tax exempt form, because they cannot do that. You have to be on the credit card that is being used for that, that expense as well, okay? Now, I don't know what all that other stuff you're reading is, but I've done nothing wrong with it.
Well, I'm just wondering how yours is $966 and hers is $419.
I can almost guarantee you, I think I paid for somebody else as well.
You did. I remember we had a hard time checking out.
Yes.
And everything was being, they said the town's credit card was declined
Yes.
when we were trying to check
And I had to
out.
buy
And
his hotel room.
people were scrambling with their personal credit cards to pay for the room. And we were totally embarrassed with people lined up behind us saying, oh my gosh, Oakland's credit card's been declined. And I believe he did pay for, I can't remember who else, but he didn't pay for mine, but he did pay for somebody
No,
else's.
his is on there.
His is,
Wasn't mine.
Yeah.
his is on there that I paid for. That's
No,
right.
his is under his expense
No,
account.
he didn't have a credit card, and he didn't put it on there.
I have never had in my possession a town credit card. I pay my own expenses and I get reimbursed when I get back.
Okay.
But if my expenses is on there as me being reimbursed, then that means I paid for it and I got reimbursed.
Well, let's talk about a conference that,
But not all of us stay at the same hotel.
let's talk
Which I
about
have a
this one
problem
here.
with.
Let's talk about the conference July 21st through the 25th of 23.
Okay.
TML conference, Nashville. What were you at that conference for, Mr. Fisher?
That's a TML conference.
It was in July
Okay.
21st through 25th. That conference wasn't that long is what I'm getting at. I'm wanting to know why you were there for so many days.
Well, you had the elected officials classes, And then after that, you have the conference itself.
Why would you go to the newly elected officials conference when you already had that training?
It's not only for newly elected officials.
No, well, you had to
It's
pay,
for-
you've already had phase two too, Mr. Fisher. You
I'm
had,
not saying that. There's still, it's called continuing education, okay? And I know you guys don't go to conferences, and that's why you ask these questions. I'm telling you that it's continuing education. The state requires it, and we go. You guys don't want to go, that's on you.
Does the
Well, I
state
think-
require
I go
this?
on it.
Hold up just a second.
Does the state require?
Yes.
I like to see that in
We'll
writing.
go look for it.
I like to see that in writing.
hold on.
where That's required by state.
I would
Hold
like
on,
to keep
Mr.
my
Cates.
time right now.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Fisher attended Elected Officials Academy, Level 1, January of 2021.
That's right.
He also went to Elected Officials Academy, Level 2, which is the other one that's required,
That's right.
in September of 21. When Mr. Fisher traveled to this class, he took the same class again
All right.
that he's already had.
Right, because there is new information, new laws that came out, and updates. And that's why you guys ask questions like that, because you guys don't go to these classes.
I've been to conference,
You're
but I paid my own way,
required to go to
Jeff.
classes.
When I went to conferences,
No.
I paid my own way.
I did
That's on
too.
you.
I've been to conferences, I paid
That's
my
on
own
you.
way. I'm not here for the money.
I'm not
I'm
here for the money,
people.
that's why I wanted to cut
When I go
our
to
pay,
training,
but you didn't want to.
when I
So
take
go ahead and
training,
talk. Hold on.
when I take training, I take free training, all except for one class. It wasn't enough free, so I had to pay for one. My expenses for this period right here, I guess y'all have already seen it, but they were $90. Yours were $9,237.19.
How many years?
3.
Okay.
$9,237.19. Mine were $90. I've been to conferences, but I paid my own way.
You
Just
ain't
like
been
Ms.
to
Homo
you
paid
ain't
for
been to
her
the
deal.
conferences we've been to, because you've only been to one. And that was with Mike Johnson, with, Jay Johnson, with Mike Brown, with us, and you've been to one with us. That is it.
Didn't
I have
charge
not
a
seen you
dime.
what?
Didn't charge a dime.
That's on you.
I got something to say.
I'm not as rich as you are. I'm not sitting there, owning these big companies or that. I do it for the people, but I also have to learn. But I'm not gonna be able to pay it.
Jeff, I'm the only person sitting here, right here talking in this conversation that's got a job.
Okay?
That I report to every day. Don't tell me about it. I work for everything I've ever
I didn't
got.
say
I don't
you
own
did.
no big companies. I own a very small business.
I didn't say you didn't. I said
Very small
you
business.
are richer than I am, and you're over there flaunting it. Thank you very much for flaunting your wealth. I appreciate that.
Mr. Fisher went to a conference in July. His hotel room for 4-night stay was $2,087.49. That's over $500 a night. Over $500. How many of y'all in the audience spend over $500 a night for a hotel room?
What do you think happened?
What I think
Just
happened
tell
is you're
me.
staying at 2 nights of a hotel. That you ought to shop around. We ought not allow our
I'm not the
members
one that books them.
to pay $500 a night for
I
a
don't
hotel
book
room.
them. The town books them. You need to talk to the town, not Jeff Fisher.
You could have took his training
No.
for free, Jeff, in Jackson, Tennessee, and drove over there like I did. But you'd rather
They
go to
weren't offered then.
you
know,
you
go
would
keep
rather go to
going.
Knoxville on vacation and spend the
Is that what it
taxpayers'
is,
money.
vacation?
Well, you
I
spent
went to classes.
you were there 4 days
did
and
it.
spent $355.50 on meals. Do you think it cost you
What do you mean I spent on
$355?
meals? I didn't charge on meals.
$355.50
I didn't
on
get
meals.
charged on meals. I don't know what your game is, but you're leaving, leave.
My game is reading what the town provided on your expense account, Jeff.
No,
You spent
that's the
$355.
town provided on my expense account. You're exactly right.
So the
I
town
didn't
just,
put the numbers there.
so the town just gives you money
I
when you
didn't-
go out of town.
Well,
They book you $500 a night hotel rooms.
somebody's got to talk up, or I'm gonna crash this place.
I'll speak something. I'll speak up.
All right.
We go to conferences and we stay at the conference hotel. And if we can't stay there, there's another alternative. Mr. Fisher has made it very clear he will only stay in Hilton hotels. He likes to get the rewards points and he wants a more expensive hotel to stay in. That's why his expenses are so much higher than the rest of ours when we go to conferences. And the training that he went to that you mentioned, why'd you go to the same training you've already had? I have never taken the same training class twice. There is absolutely, I actually had a problem with that. He should not have gone those 2 days extra. He should not have been in that class, and the town should not have paid his hotel or his per diem for those days.
We have $6,000 budgeted for this entire board's travel. 6,000. Mr. Fisher spent $4,397.64 in the last year's budget, which was 73% of the entire
I
board's
got you,
budget.
Mr. Frank. I got you.
He was due 16.6%, his share, and he spent 73% of the entire budget. Now, I call myself a conservative. He calls himself conservative. That's not conservative. It is not conservative.
And he accused me of a 20% pay increase.
Anybody that
Please,
threatened to take an employee's salary.
Nobody's threatening that.
You
Don't
threatened
lie.
to take Christmas bonuses, $500 from an employee.
I'm gonna be screaming, because that's a lie, he knows it, but he wants to say it.
Oh, I don't think so.
Are you saying that you didn't want to take the $500 Christmas bonuses from these employees?
That's not salary,
Did you want to take $500?
that's not salary.
Okay.
Tell me, that you apologize for
You
saying,
wanted to cut
I
them
wanted
10%.
to cut their
You
salary.
wanted to cut the budget 10%.
I wanted to cut their budget 10%.
Well, you would have cut their salary 10%.
That's not part of their budget. That's salary. Salary and budget, department budgets are different.
If you want-
Don't you understand this after 12 years of being here?
Hey,
You have learned nothing. Thank God you're leaving.
I don't go to the same classes twice, Jeff. I
That's
fully
right,
understand
and
it.
you
You
will learn.
do. And you'll probably go
And
again.
you'll learn.
If they'll buy you a $500.
Order, order,
Ms. Hummel,
please.
I've got it.
Thank you.
I've got it. Just a minute, just a minute, just a minute. I don't need murmuring from Mr. Frank.
This is why, for the
I'm
last
sorry,
two
Alderman
meetings,
Cates.
that I have brought up, that if it's mandatory, that's fine. If you go on your own, I just don't think the taxpayer should have to pay that. And if it does, it should be limited to at least once a year. I know I'd like to drove Miss Bond crazy, and I know I did. I felt bad for her and my wife. I spent 36 hours on a computer begging for help from her and couldn't get to all of it. I finally got 36 hours in. And they'll bet you 85% of it was the same thing that they're going out of town to get. And it didn't cost the town one penny, except probably gray hair in her head for me up here trying to figure out what was next. And she knows it's the truth. And I brought it up twice, and I'm gonna say it again. I just don't think that if it's not mandatory, you go on your own, you pay your own way. And I still want you to show me where all these meetings were mandatory. I want it in writing. You can give it to me, or somebody else can.
Mr. Ellis.
Last comment, I understand the conversation. I will assure you as town manager, travel, especially board travel, will be scrutinized.
Well, what?
Will be scrutinized much more than it ever has been in the past. We may even bring it before the board for approval. We'll see, but it'll be addressed on my end, I can assure you.
Can you get me the information I'm asking for?
Alderman Frank, I didn't say that. Mr. Fisher said.
I know he did, but can you show me where the state requires this?
I can't, no.
And do you
Who
know
can?
why
Who can
I
show it?
asked you to
Can I
travel?
ask,
Hold on,
can I ask
hold on.
Mr.
I'll let
Minor?
you talk, hold on.
Mr. Minor, where can I get this information?
I will find out.
Because it was made. I want to see where the state,
If it's out there,
I want to see where the state requires all of these meetings for
if
aldermen.
it's out there, I'll find it.
I appreciate it. Thank
Well,
you.
there's not a state requirement. There is a state requirement that we have to have so many hours of
I
continuing
understand that.
education.
That's what wasn't said. He said the state required those meetings. It's in the minutes. If you
Right.
want to go back and listen to them.
Continuing education, I
Right.
said that.
Here's what I want for everybody to know, and this has been proved, and it's been court cases, and people's been in trouble. When you go to a conference and meals are provided,
Yes.
meals are provided, you cannot claim per diem for those meals. And I know for a fact that meals were provided at some conferences and per diem was claimed. And if you need to report something to the comptroller, Ms. Hummel, you said you know how a lot better than I do, report it. But there's definitely been per diem paid where meals were provided on this, and I'm reporting it.
Well, I didn't file a report because I didn't turn in a claim for anything.
No, I'm talking
They paid
about,
for my
you,
hotel.
you made a
He's
post,
saying
you made a
make a
post
claim on
saying
me.
that I didn't know how to report to the
About how to do
comptroller.
it.
But I've reported
They
several
paid the
things to the
hotel bill.
comptroller, and this'll be next.
Okay,
I paid for all my meals separately by myself.
I don't think that's the point he was making, Ms.
I
Holman.
didn't turn anything.
Mr. Fisher, did you have something?
No. I say report it.
Now, I do try to go to everything that's free. I think there was one time, there was a utility board class that cost $150, and there was somebody else on the board that took it also, and the town paid for that. And I took it here at my home computer at home for the class, because we're required to get so many utility training hours. And I know, just last week, I went, the town manager went, and Miss Yvonne Bullard went, and we were at the FedEx Institute of Technology at Memphis State, and we sat through a several-hour class there for public records and open meetings law. That was a free one I took. I got a certificate for it, and that's added to my record. And they did not pay for my parking or anything like that, so.
Ms. Holman, I'm definitely not questioning what you spent. $419, that's not, I'm definitely, look, I'm talking about the $9,237.
I think that was for 2 nights, that's what it was, and Jay Johnson put it on his credit card, because I tracked that man down through his cell phone number and say, get back here and pay our bill, because they're not gonna let us go.
I think $419, you were due a lot more than that. You were due $1,000. If there's $6,000 appointed to this board, and there's 6 of us, you should have had $1,000 to spend. You hadn't spent that. But one man spent $4,397, almost $4,400. That is out of line. And it should not be able to continue, and I hope it gets taken care of later on in this meeting by something we need to pass to regulate this type of wasteful spending. His salary for that year wasn't but $3,600. He spent $4,400 on travel. Not counting what he spent this year, he spent over $9,000 in this period.
But that's money that's usually not made public.
That's money that I'm having to pay. I'm a taxpayer too.
That's right. Okay. Are we done with this discussion?
I think so.
Move on.
Okay. Next is new business. This is an ordinance on a first reading. It's ordinance 2410. It's an ordinance to amend the municipal code, Title 9, business, peddlers, solicitors, etc., by creating a new Section 5 titled Mobile Food Preparation Vehicles. I am going to declare, do we do the public hearing now? I'm going to declare the public hearing open. Is there anybody who wishes to come and speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing no one coming forward, is there anyone that is here to speak against this ordinance? All right, nobody coming forward. I'm going to declare the public hearing closed, and I will take a motion to hear. Motion from Alderman Fisher. Is there a second? I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I think we have 3 ayes and,
I'm sorry.
4 ayes and 1 abstention. Okay, Mr. Ellis, can you walk us through this ordinance, please?
Yes, Board, as you know, this was discussed at a previous work session. If you'll follow along, there have been a few minor changes at the bottom of page 3. You'll see highlighted in section 2D. We changed the word from manufacturing to industrial. If you'll look at page 4, towards the bottom, on 5A, it says the only change was we added to the end of that sentence that the permit shall be valid for 1 year from the date of issuance and not transferable to any other location. So as long as the food truck and that vendor stays at that location, the permit is good for up to 1 year. You look on page 4.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Aye.
Ellis. That is the permit for the food truck.
Yes. Correct.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Sorry, yes.
Fine.
I'm sorry, yes, page 5. You look under.
Oh, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Okay.
Back up to the top of that page on page 4, you've got
Yes, I didn't see that.
flushable
Yes, under
scratched
C,
out.
yes. Under the requirement for a restroom, we removed the word flushable, so a porta potty would be available to satisfy that requirement. Thank you. page 5, in the last section of, section E, we added the language, all background checks shall be valid for 1 year from the date of issuance. Again, going back to the previous change, unless they change locations. That was kind of the main purpose we wanted to do this. They're having to come in every 30 days and pay for a background check, and that's a bit egregious, I think.
I've been asking for that for 2 years.
That's great.
And lastly, on page 7, at the bottom, and we may want to discuss this, and Ed's available to speak on that. It's regarding the setbacks. It says, all food trucks shall be set back a minimum of 20 feet from any of the right-of-ways and/or front/rear yard property lines.
I don't like the word rear in there, because if it's at the back of somebody's lot, we would let a business put a shed 5 feet from the fence line. Why does a food truck have to be 20 feet from that same fence line?
I can see it being from the road that far, but.
From the right-of-way or the
Yes,
yard
from the
property
front.
line.
There you are. There's more people here than I'm used to, Mr. Corton.
The reason I put that there is because you're talking about the food truck. You can have a food truck, they're gonna be grilling food. Do you wanna have somebody barbecuing right next to your property line, throughout the day?
No.
The activity, cars pulling up, people congregating, they're eating their food.
That's what I was talking
So that's why I thought that 20-foot setback would be appropriate. You have that in residential areas so that you have, your primary structure needs to be 20 foot. Just seems appropriate. A lot of locations are not gonna be applicable because you have commercial, then you have commercial there, but there are commercial lots that front right up against residential. So I
So
think
if you
it's
only have a
appropriate.
40-foot lot, you can't have a food truck.
Well, yeah.
It's only from here to that wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
And the ordinance is meant to be applied across the board. A lot of lots are not gonna work. A lot of existing businesses, because you have that 20%, that's the maximum you could use of required parking. So it's only gonna be applicable for 5, 10, 15 properties probably throughout the city.
Okay. Would this, if we change this tonight, are the people who are already there affected, or when they come up for renewal next year? Okay.
This is the first reading and staff recommends approval.
I don't have a problem with it.
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Hummel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All righty. Next is ordinance 2411. Ordinance 2411 is an ordinance amending the Town of Oakland Municipal Code of Ordinance, Title 4, Chapter 4, Travel Reimbursement Regulations. I'm going to declare a public hearing open. Is there anybody who wishes to come and speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone who wishes to come and speak against this ordinance? Seeing no one coming forward, I will declare the public hearing closed, and I will take a motion to hear.
Motion here.
Motion from Alderman Cates. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second it from Alderman Hummel. Mr. Ellis.
For review board, the travel policy along with the upcoming employee handbook. The reason for this coming before you guys is there are multiple versions. This hasn't been addressed in quite a...
Mr. Ellis,
I'm sorry.
we're on travel reimbursement regulations.
Yes.
2411.
I know, I was saying that, I was just mentioning that.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The reason I'm bringing this up, much like the employee
understand.
handbook coming up next, the point I was trying to make, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear, is these policies haven't been addressed in a while. So I've just
Yeah.
given some historical data for the ones that weren't at the workshop. Apologize for the confusion. So what this ordinance does, again, the first reading, is adopting a policy which basically adopts the state policy. The state of Tennessee for per diem and the meals and the travel and the mileage. I'd ask for one change on page one, number 1 of the policy under automobile expenses, that first line, 76 cents per mile. I would ask that we change that and replace it with current state per diem. So
Yes.
this is going to be evaluated every time, if this is approved, every time we have a travel expense turned in, the state website will be checked and those rates will be confirmed and that will be the rates charged, no more. And
What was the change from 67 cents to say what?
per current state per diem rates.
Is that a state thing or is that an IRS thing?
It's an IRS thing, but it varies from state to state. So what we use is the U.S. General Service Administration website.
And the state has they update that regularly?
It changes often, yes.
Okay.
And again, I think this may be where, I don't know if we add it to an ordinance, if the board is willing to, but there's been a lot of discussion about if we want to add language to the policy that controls board travel and expenses a little more. I don't know if this is a place you'd want to put something in. This is the first reading, so I'll leave that up to the discretion of the board.
If you have a workshop between now and then, could this be brought up on a workshop before the second reading next month?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see that.
This is documenting the process we were already doing by following that website, the state's policy. It's just putting it in writing and making it updated with a few other caveats, a few other requirements.
And again, this is just the first reading.
First reading.
And it goes by the state. I'm fine with it.
I make a motion then to approve ordinance 2411 with the correction to change automobile expense from 67 cents per mile to the current state per diem.
Motion from Alderman Hummel. Is there a second? Second from Alderman Sutton. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Any opposed? Okay, any opposed?
No.
4 in favor. Alderman Cates opposed. Motion passes. All right. Thank you.
I'll have you guys options at a work session, so
Okay.
you'll have several options.
Take that off. All right, consideration of resolutions for new business. Resolution 2453, asset management request for proposal. Mr. Ellis. Wait, do I need a motion to hear? Do I have a motion to hear resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Ellis.
Board, did you know the town received, like many cities, if not all, received some federal funds under the American Rescue Plan? The majority of those we are designating to our wastewater treatment plant. One of the requirements, we had to fill out a scorecard, and if you got a red box, a red check on any of the certain parameters, then you had to address those with the ARP funds. So we had two hits on our scorecard. One was wastewater capacity. We're addressing that by expanding the plant. The second one was an asset management plan. So we are required by receiving those funds to have an asset management plan. So I'm asking permission to put out a request for proposal to have that asset management plan done. I have confirmed that we can pay for this fund through the American Rescue money that we have received. It is a requirement to receive the money, so it's what it is. We can talk more about it if you want to, but what an asset management plan is. But it is basically taking an inventory of all of your streets, your sewers, giving it value to that, and it's a live document. It's not do it one time, put it on a shelf. This is something we'll have to upgrade every year, invest in. But we can get the first initial plan done on the federal government's dime. That's a big advantage for us.
All that is expanding our assets, right?
Yes.
And all this is a request for proposal.
Request for proposal.
Okay.
Once I get those, I'll bring it back to the board at a later date for approval to enter into contract with whatever firm we choose to go
Motion to
with.
approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, resolution 2454, amending the employee handbook. Is there a motion to hear?
Yes.
Motion from Alderman Fisher. Mr. Ellis.
Yes, this was discussed at our last work session. Again, it's a much needed update to our handbook. There were quite a few changes we discussed. The only direction I remember from the board as of the workshop was to poll the staff about the vacation policy. Everyone that I discussed it with are fine with that. I didn't bring the highlighted version to go through the changes, but we went through them pretty thoroughly at the work session. So unless I'll try to answer any questions if we have any. But again, this is a document that has long needed updated. There are multiple versions floating around that conflict.
I'm a simple man, Mr. Ellis. Are all the changes that we included in this?
Yes.
Then I'm fine with it.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Is there any way to include that the members of the board ought to adhere to the same policy as your employees? Is that possible to put in here?
No.
Like what?
I'll defer to Tom Leonard on that one. That's
I think we can do,
Board members are not employees. I mean, typically, board members are not subject to, employee handbook, but, I mean, there's, you know, the board members certainly have a code of ethics they have to comply with.
and a code of conduct.
I just think that the members ought to be held to the same policies and on social media and other things that the employees are too. Why should we not be held to the same standard as an employee?
Or stricter, we supposed to be setting an example.
Can you amend this resolution right now, a resolution amending Town of Oakland Employee and Official Handbook?
To what now?
Would that be legal?
I've never seen it done. That doesn't mean that it's not, that it can't be done.
What board members feel like you should be held to the same standard as your employees of the town?
Well, shoot.
Is that something that we can get an opinion on?
Certainly.
I think Mr. Ellis wants this passed tonight.
I would like it passed tonight, yes. If we could put a caveat that upon Attorney Minor's research, if it's not legal, then we revert to the
Well,
original.
let me ask, can we come up with rules for this board or a code of conduct or code of ethics separate from the employee handbook?
That is typically the way that you see these towns handled.
That's what we do at the county commission.
Yeah, conduct and, exactly the way that the county commission handles it. It's a separate protocol.
But it's still wrote up and filed in,
It is.
in office.
It's in writing.
It's a binding, yes.
Maybe that's what we should do.
I understand your objection.
And, you know, part of the oath that the commissioners take is to abide by it.
That's right.
Our code of ethics, we've had a violation in the past, but yes. And you are also our ethics officer.
That is correct. So says the state. Not people believe that. That's what the state says.
Would it be okay to do the employee handbook and then come up with, have Mr. Minor draft up some rules and things for us?
You know, I won't be able to vote on that, but I do feel like members of the board and the town officials should be held to at least what the employees, and maybe even a higher standard. That's just my personal belief.
I agree. Which would you suggest going with that, Mr. Minor?
I would suggest that you approve, if you want to approve the employee handbook, and that there be an aggressive effort undertaken to draft and pass an official code of conduct.
Separate?
Yes, I mean, that's the way that the county handles it, and it's always, and also that official code of conduct is something that's a part of the oath taken by the elected official. That's just my opinion.
What's the board's opinion? Which way y'all want to go?
I think they should be separate. I think they should be separate.
As long as we can hold it to the standard, I don't care.
I think Mr. Minor can do some research and come up with something that would apply.
Okay, I make a motion, we pass the handbook.
I have a motion.
Employees handbook.
I have a motion to accept. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Fisher. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Nothing under old business. Under other business items, it says establish a work session. I don't know if that would be productive, Mr. Ellis, since we have an election. I think we should wait and, is there anything pressing that we would need a work? Okay. Miss Yvonne, are there any invoices? Awesome. Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Yay.
My goodness, let me stop this.